You know, somewhere in a forgotten corner of Eastern Europe, kind of squeezed between these powerful neighbors, there's a land of whispered stories and constantly shifting borders. A nation whose identity really is as deep and as dark as the soil right under its feet. This is Moldova, and it might just be Europe's last great secret.
So what if that best-kept secret was also, paradoxically, its poorest country? Moldova is a place of these huge, profound contrasts. It's where the ambitions of the 21st century really crash into the ghosts of old empires, and where an ancient culture just keeps persisting against all the odds. It's a nation caught in the balance, both geographically and politically, right between Romania and Ukraine. And that position, well, it has shaped its entire destiny.
To even begin to understand Moldova today, you really have to look back. We're talking centuries of shifting loyalties and redrawn maps. And this isn't just dry history, you know? It's the living, breathing memory that fuels the nation's identity crisis right now.
I mean, just look at this timeline. It shows a nation in a constant state of flux. From its medieval beginnings, Moldova's story has pretty much been written by other people. It was a prize passed between the Ottoman and Russian empires, then it briefly found a home with its cultural family in Romania, only to be swallowed whole by the Soviet Union. This isn't just a list of dates, it's the blueprint for an identity crisis, one forged in the fires of foreign ambition.
But beneath all that weight of geopolitics, another story has been growing, literally from the ground up. It's a story you can actually taste, a tradition that flows right through the veins of the nation and in many ways defines its soul.
So the secret to Moldova's hidden identity? It's in the land itself. Get this, 3/4 of the country is blessed with Chernozem. It's some of the most fertile black earth on the entire planet. Now, you add over 300 days of sun in a pretty gentle climate, and you've got the perfect cradle for growing grapes. Here, making wine isn't just an industry, it's a really ancient art form.
And that tradition? It's produced something absolutely staggering. So what's this number? 2 million. This isn't a population figure, it's not a budget. That is the number of wine bottles being stored in the world's largest wine cellar, which, you guessed it, happens to be right here in Moldova.
It's a place called Milești Mici, and you should think of it less like a cellar and more like a whole underground city that's just dedicated to wine. It holds the Guinness World Record, with these tunnels stretching for over 200 kilometers. I mean, this incredible national treasure just completely shatters the narrative of Moldova being just Europe's poorest country.
And this isn't just some cultural quirk either. Wine is a real engine for the Moldovan economy. It makes up a huge slice of the country's exports, and it places this tiny little nation among the top 20 wine producers in the whole world. This industry is so much more than economics. It is a deep, profound source of national pride.
But that economic hope, it runs straight into the harsh reality of modern geopolitics. Today, Moldova finds itself, once again, stuck right in the middle of a monumental struggle for influence.
And this lays out that central tension perfectly. On one side, you have this powerful pull towards the West. Moldova is now an official EU candidate, and it has a government that's determined to integrate with Europe. But on the other side, you have the historic grip of the East. We're talking decades of reliance on Russian energy, powerful pro-Russian factions inside the country, and this lingering, unresolved conflict right on its border.
And that conflict is Transnistria. It's this breakaway sliver of land on the Ukrainian border, basically frozen in time since the fall of the Soviet Union. The rest of the world doesn't recognize it as a country, but it operates like one, a relic of a past war. And stationed within its borders are about 1,500 Russian soldiers. That's a constant, physical reminder of Moscow's long shadow, and frankly, the single biggest obstacle to Moldova's complete sovereignty.
So, with these huge external pressures, what about the people themselves? What are their challenges, and where do they see their future? Let's take a look at the human side of this national story.
Well, the country is far from being one single thing. While the vast majority identify as Moldovan, you've got significant Romanian, Ukrainian, Russian, and Gagauz minorities. This diversity adds a real richness to the culture, for sure. But it also reflects those internal debates over language, identity, and which way to face, east or west, that are still happening today.
But maybe the most telling number in modern Moldova is this one. It's estimated that over a quarter, 1 in 4, of its citizens no longer live there. This massive exodus, driven by the search for work, is the country's greatest paradox. It's a lifeline of money being sent home, but it's also a slow drain on its very future.
And yet, despite all the challenges, the direction of travel seems pretty clear. This quote from a former president really captures the mood of the current pro-European government and a huge part of the population. There is this determined push towards a future anchored in the West, which they see as the path to prosperity and security.
So, this is the ultimate question, isn't it? For a nation that has so often been used as a pawn in the games of giant empires, can it finally write its own future? Moldova's journey is a test of resilience. It's a search for identity, and it's a quiet but incredibly determined effort to claim its own place in Europe on its own terms.